What's in your thoughts? Oh, what's in your mind? What fills your head and what leaves it behind? It's too much today. It's too much today.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to Filling in the Gaps Re-Rolled. We hope you had some great gaming since the last time you listened, and if you're new, welcome to the table. We may not be an actual play podcast, but we hope our podcast helps you actually play. We're 3 DMs who create stories and sessions based on randomized themes and scenarios determined by 2 D20s. It's a great way to get those creative juices flowing and flex those DM muscles. With that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm host number 1, Malcolm.
And I am your themes host for this episode, DM Mambo or Sam.
And I'm going to be our scenario host. This is David. Hello.
So, I've got a pretty simple question for you guys, which I decided to change because I didn't like the other question that I had about something else that we'll ask again a different day. So, what is a genre of RPG that you have not played, but you really want to?
Ooh. I think superheroes. I have not been able to play a superhero RPG. Sounds like fun. Specifically, I kind of want to do something. I'm going to really date myself back with this reference, but has anyone ever watched the show Mucha Lucha?
Oh yeah.
I love that one, and I think it'd be great to have like a... You know what? Just give me a wrestling Mucha Lucha type RPG. That's what I want to play. That sounds great.
That or like a Xiaolin Showdown, which I think would be pretty cool.
Xiaolin Showdown, like almost every campaign I run, I really want to have like special artifacts in it because of that show.
Yeah, and Wayne Knight. You got to get Wayne Knight in there too.
I don't remember that one actually. But...
He's the dragon. He plays the dragon.
Yes, okay.
I'm trying to think what I haven't played.
Real quick on the artifacts, David, I came up with a campaign that is all the gods died and they dropped all their stuff on Earth, and it's basically Jackie Chan Adventures. So if you guys ever want to play that, it's pretty cool. You just hunt down, like the first season of the Adventure Zone. They're hunting down a bunch of objects to make sure nobody else has them, and or to keep for themselves. Up to you. But as far as games I haven't played that I really want to play, I'm noticing that I'm very, very much interested in space. A space RPG. Kind of a Mass Effect-y type situation, or like just a hero in space against aliens type thing. I think that would be really fun and cool, and being like a Picard or a Kirk or whoever.
You want to play Starfinder is what you're saying.
Basically not Star Wars. I don't want to play Star Wars. People are always like, look at how cool it is, and it's like, you're basically just playing D&D. That's all Star Wars is. With the Force. So, come at me for my hot take, but I don't want to play a Star Wars RPG. Unless it's a video game. No tabletop.
That makes sense. I think I had joined like a play-by-post for this at one point, but they didn't have a system set up. But it'd be really cool if there was like a Avatar: The Last Airbender system.
Now, I heard they're making one, and probably by now we're probably going to look real dumb. It might be out by now.
They're working on it, and it'll be cool to see how they handle it, just to be like a bender, like what kind of rule set they use. But I'm very much a rule set focused person, probably because I DM all the time. So when it comes to actual characters, I just build them and then forget about them. So that's how I get a grasp of the rules, is through making unique characters.
So we got Mucha Lucha, Space, and... What's yours, Dave? Avatar, sorry. You just said it, and my brain just went like, oh, well, that information's gone.
I mean, Malcolm, technically you have played a space game before.
No, that is true. I want to play more.
I see.
More. Like a full-on campaign, I suppose, would have been a better way to put that.
We pre-played a space game.
Yeah.
Yes. We played Session 0, and you can check that out here. look at the annotation above my head. That's totally not real because this is an audio format. Woo!
Wow, such pretty letters.
I was listening to Critical Bits, and they did one of the guys just went, "Excelsior, dear readers! You can find that information." And I was like, "Yeah, basically."
Oh man, I actually watched that show, the Wanna Be a Superhero one with Stan Lee, and always Excelsior. I think there was a guy with stripping powers at one point.
There's a lot of people who have like a lot of unusual talents, but I never really watched it that much because I was like, I don't need to see how advanced some people are. I don't need to see confirmation of mutants. I'm fine. Like, the world's weird. If you think the world's not weird, you're not looking around enough at the world.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I think I have a separate question for Sam.
And what is that, David?
Shall we roll?
Let's do it! All right. Favorite time of the episode. I'm rolling these nice blue and gold metal dice today on the themes table.
I'm rolling my duck dice. They're transparent and have a little duck inside.
Aw, that's so fun. For those who do not know, or who are new to the show, this is the part where our two hosts here are those two D20s mentioned in our intro. Where we'll later on mash those two together and figure out what we can do with that theme and scenario combo.
I rolled a 10 today.
And for the scenario, I rolled a 5.
I'm sorry. I was supposed to have that other page open. Whoops. There we go. It is... Oh, freaking finally. Oh no! I love this. It's terrible. It is Mech versus Kaiju, sent to us by, I'm gonna say this probably wrong, but I'm thinking it's Zacchus. It's Xaccus, and I'm so sorry if I pronounced it wrong. And the scenario is brought to you by yours truly, who put in The Good Guys Lost. So, yeah. What are you guys thinking about that? Giant Kaiju versus Mechs, but the good guys lost.
My very first thing that comes to mind, there was a movie, I think called Reign of Fire, where basically huge dragons came back into like the modern world, and they just kicked the shit out of humanity, and it basically is an apocalypse in itself, and these dragons kind of just live in the wreckage of the world, and it's centered on people trying to like survive while these giant monsters are out there. But you take that idea and move it into like further in the future, so we have like technology that's been ruined by these dragons. So there's ruins of giant mechs that humanity has to like scavenge for parts in order to survive and try not to be burned alive by these huge...
Now, are these dragons intelligent like our dear dragons in Dungeons & Dragons? For those who do not know, they are intelligent. Please start role-playing them as such. Please.
I don't remember what level of intelligence they had. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I'm going to look up a couple things. Sam, did you have any first impressions?
Yeah, I would have this... I'm thinking of after a big battle of the machines or mecha versus the kaiju, and it's just a team was there. They were ready to fight. They were ready to win, but they lost. And I was trying to decide what side to be on, because like the kaiju is like Godzilla, that kind of genre, and mecha is like big giant robots, or maybe people are wearing the suits like. Is BioShock the one where they're wearing, like, the big suits?
Pacific Rim, sorry. No problem.
I get those mixed up all the time.
It's a confusing title, honestly.
But yeah, so it could just easily be that kind of thing, or maybe it's Gundam-esque. I was just trying to decide what side to be on. I think it'd actually be more interesting to be on the kaiju side, because I think a lot of times people see Godzilla as evil, and maybe and maybe he's actually like the good guy. Maybe he like in your world, you could have a Godzilla-esque coming in to save it, and he gets defeated.
So my love of horror movies comes from the fact that I started out with the kaiju films with Godzilla. And that's not even my theme. My theme is Good Guys Lost, which, by the way, was inspired by Justice League. Because I love the idea, the Justice League movie that Joss Whedon did, which opens with that song where they have the lyric, "The Good Guys Lost" in it. And I was like, that's an interesting idea. If everyone panicked and like, oh no, everything went bad because Superman's dead. And I'm like, oh, cool. But in kaiju history, when aliens come in Godzilla, they bring robots. That's one of the things they do, and that's how they make, like, Godzilla the good guy, is that they're like, hey, first we're gonna bring this giant monster. Did that not work? We're gonna build our own giant monster. That'll work. And it's like, I agree though, Sam. Having it be on either side is something that we can look at here, because having it be on the kaiju does make a big difference, especially if you want to have this kind of peace and harmony type situation, and like order being disrupted, and you can do a different type of apocalypse then. It's almost like Terminator versus Godzilla in a sense, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry, I had a note in my head and I had to write it down before I forgot.
No, totally.
Yeah, I like that. I think, what side should we, I think we should just, pick a side for right now, depending on what we want to do. I think that might help get our juices flowing.
I'll be honest, as much as I like your idea, Sam, I am really attracted to the idea of dragons taking over and, like, causing a big whole thing. Like, I'm always a big fan of dimensions crashing together, so having, like, D&D dragons just invade our world, and this story be about the world that comes after that.
I love that. Maybe it's like, I think a lot of times in settings of Dungeons and Dragons, it's that the dragons are rare and they're not found, but maybe that's because they've been breeding and ready to take back their world. So they've kept the ancient ones out, they're powerful, they're wise, they can look, they can see threats, they can assess things. So maybe they finally took over. And now the humanoid races or lineages of the remaining playable characters are there now in, giant mecha Gundam suits. They've used knowledge to craft these. Maybe they've etched runes into stone to make these giant buildable monsters or machines to help combat and retake a portion of their world back.
I like that.
To answer your question from earlier in Reign of Fire, they are not smart. And funny enough, this movie takes place in 2020, where basically in London they dug too far into the ground into like a slumbering dragon nest, and the dragons just woke up and became the dominant species on Earth.
I wouldn't put it past 2020.
The whole plot of the movie is they find out that almost all of the dragons are female. There is one male dragon. And so the drive is to kill the male in order to successfully wipe out, which definitely tells you they're not intelligent because the male would be protected rather than just by itself.
So in Godzilla 1998, and yeah, you guys are just going to get a whole history lesson about Godzilla. I've been waiting for this, baby. The bad Godzilla movie, the worst Godzilla movie, the American Godzilla movie. Yeah. 1998. They have a concept that is also within the Japanese ones, but it is that Godzilla can get himself pregnant and just reproduce. He's just able to do that. And that would be kind of a cool thing if you want to throw something kind of crazy about your dragons out there. Only one dragon left, or only one dragon enters, and you're like, this isn't a problem. And now it's a problem, because they can keep doing this. Or maybe it's like the alien from Alien, and it can lay a ton of eggs. Like a queen dragon. Dragon queen. Okay, I'm liking that too much. I think that needs to go somewhere.
We have Dragon Queen already, though, Malcolm.
Do we?
Tomb of the Dragon Queen?
You're right.
Something along those lines. I mean, I think it's like 4.5 or something like that. Or it's early 5e.
This can be our version.
Yeah, for sure. I like this a lot. I think... Alright, so are we going to just stick with just dragons? Or should we add in a whole bunch of other things?
I like just dragons on this one. How do you guys feel? I'm also partial to them invading a modern day setting, but I'm also okay if we don't do that. I know we don't know a ton about... correction, I know I don't know a ton about other RPGs, so I don't know how comfortable we are stepping outside that D&D realm, but we are an RPG podcast, so...
So, side note, I'm going to pitch a separate direction we can take this. We can come back in just a second. We talked about everything has been where for the good guys who have lost, they're the robot users. Kind of.
Yeah.
What if, and we talked about Pokemon a little bit ago, what if the Kaiju, you're able to Dynamax your Pokemon and you're fighting kind of a robot invasion? And so this is what kind of the Mech versus Kaiju thing is.
I love it. I was also just about to be like, what if you are in an ancient feudal setting, but all of a sudden these Kaiju start popping up and you realize that you're able to tame them by some sort of mecha device, like maybe like a sphere shape, and evolve them to fight more Kaiju.
So, let me take that a little bit and even add a little more Pokemon to it. What if there's a certain element or stone that helps you to connect with the dragon? So it's like, without that, you are in a bad way. You will not survive this encounter with this dragon. It is smarter. It is better. It will kill you. But it's like, hey, you've given us this stone, and it's like, oh, then we're okay. As long as you're wearing or you have like one of these stones, it's like in connection with you and feels like it could be like a calming essence or effect. So that way it knows not to attack you.
Yeah, I really like the robot invasion with all of this. I think this is a great idea. Yeah.
Do we have them be from the future? Because I feel like that's kind of fun, but I feel like that is really hard to pull off sometimes with time.
Yeah, I think the setting where you want it to be, we can leave up to the DM running the session, of course.
Oh no, not the setting. I'm saying the robot's origins. Where do the robots come from?
I see. I would say either I always like if the good guys lost, I would say they are the invention of your BBEG.
It could be that the good guys lost in the future. So this robot army, they have like, what are their names? We're going into the Sinnoh remakes. They were just announced. So they could have like Dialga and Palkia chained up, and they're using them to come back in time. So the good guys lost in the future to these robots, and now they're trying to kind of take over all of time and reality and space. And you need to fight these robots by using Dynamaxing, or if we just Mega Evolve or
connection with dragons.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of like that's like where Dynamaxing came from, because the Kaiju usually are just like the huge towering monsters, right? And that's where a lot of it comes from. So I think that's a great idea.
And something interesting you could do, the stats for Pokemon, you could have it set up so that those stats are only when they're Dynamaxed, or when they're whatever it is for your game. That way, when they're not Dynamaxed, they don't really have stats, and if they get into a fight, they just die. Like, you don't really have stats because you're not this ultra-powerful thing. So, like, D&D 5e, or just Pokemon 5e, whatever, those base stats are for the enlarged monsters and robots. But if they're not enlarged, there's just... like, you can still have, like, a character sheet, but there's no real connection between the two.
So, okay, if we're hitting up Pokemon here, now this is a bit frightening for me, as it is nowhere near my area of expertise. But I do know that there are certain legendaries that have certain very powerful abilities. So if the good guys lost in the future or wherever, it would make sense that someone would then use that to go back and try to capture all the Pokemon. My understanding of Pokemon ends with good old Team Rocket, but I know they have very different sorts of versions throughout the systematic universe. But that would be pretty cool to just have it be like, hey, those guys finally won. It's just way in the future, and they're coming back to win even sooner. So
that makes sense. They could be coming back to get rid of, I don't know I haven't really played a lot of Sword and Shield. Is it like a stone or something that lets you Dynamax? Because they can be coming back in time to destroy whatever resource it is that you use to Dynamax.
Again, this is our version. Yeah, it's a stone now. So right? For the case of making this a bit simpler, for those who care about Pokemon lore to a fault, I understand completely. I am obsessed with lore about the things I love. I just did not know about Pokemon for too long.
So you need a Dynamax band, which allows you to Dynamax a Pokemon. There's also a Gigantamax as well.
So it can be a resource that exists. And so while they may have won in the future, they're still having some difficulty with like resistances and small rebellions. So they've come back here to just destroy that resource so that it's not a problem in the future.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I also like the fact that we've changed it so that it's not just giant like dragon Pokemon. It's everything. Like it's all Pokemon can be giant, which is great.
Yeah, I think so. I think I like this route. I think it was, I'm trying to remember. Is it Team Galactic that was in Sinnoh? Yes.
Yeah, they were the ones who were trying to go after, like, Palkia Dialga.
That's perfect. I think you're great. I think you can totally have them they captured them. What if they, in the future they captured them and now they're going back in time and this is their way of, they have set up so we're like they can go back and take over the world sooner and faster with future, like knowledge of the future. Mm-hmm. So like they actually know where everything is.
Yeah, I like that. So that's our show. No, let's see. What else can we do with this? What kind of encounters do we want to have here?
For these robots, you can just look up like random constructs from 5e and use their stat blocks as whatever type of robot is necessary.
Yeah, just change their sizing and maybe adjust their stats a little bit to be a little tougher.
Yeah. Because, the Pokemon in Pokemon 5e are just kind of scaled to just be monsters that you have control over. Mm-hmm. So just throwing the stat block against your Pokemon would be pretty effective.
It's all just math and numbers that are all made up by somebody, so you can make up your own math and numbers, and you can have a fun game. I think this one's really cool, though. Let's throw some NPCs in there.
Yeah, I totally think that's wise. So let me see. I think
we gotta have a Nurse Joy.
Yeah, of course. Their leader is Cyrus, and he wants to create a new universe. So he can, rule it and have it better. This looks like. Let me just click on it. This is a good refresher for the remakes coming out, even though this will be dated when.
I was gonna say that we haven't seen Godzilla vs. Kong because that's not out yet. So further dating.
Oh yeah, so he wants to be a god of the universe that he wants to create.
So yeah, we could just take kind of the leader of this. Their defeat kind of sends them into the future, and their knowledge of kind of the history of the Pokemon world helps these aliens or robots or whatever fight and win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think so too. And then I know there's other upper minions too. So we've got, let's see, who else is on the team?
Team Galactic is who you're looking up?
Yeah, just a little quick. I think it's like Charon, which is like, they're all pretty much made up, but named after planets and such. So there's Saturn and then Charon.
Man, they look like they're from the future. I'm looking at pictures now.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's our team of heroes? Like, obviously not our party, but there's a resistance outside our party, because they gotta be there to...
Yeah, I was kind of thinking one person came back to the past where they meet your party, and they're the ones who recruit you to help beat them. They're like, I'm undercover, and I'm trying to, the team the Elite Four and the champion lost to them, so we have no other defenses. But now it's like your turn. You're like their grandfather or something like that. And you guys have they could maybe bring the Dynamax equipment back into the past with them. And they're like, look, you guys have the same heritage of blah 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 blah, and I need you to take on this responsibility of helping me defeat them, because it's at this point when Dynamax becomes popular. This is what's happening, and they want to destroy that so they have no resistance in the future.
That makes sense.
I like that.
And so there wasn't Dynamaxing in the original Sinnoh, so your players could be like a Pokemon team that represented kind of the antagonist or the protagonist of the game. So you can be like later in your Pokemon career, having already gone through the events of the game, and like you beat the champion, and so that's why this thing is coming back to you as well, is because you're actually a strong Pokemon trainer.
Yeah, I like that.
But I don't think there would be a resistance quite yet, because this basically just happened, and they're starting to slowly take over your world.
Yeah, I just meant in the future there was.
Oh, gotcha.
So Team Galactic finally gets Palkia and the other name just Dialga. I was like, wow, I lost my whole train of thought there. They get the two legendaries, and then all of a sudden, they're fighting people along the way, but they get it, and now they're like, all right, this is too much for us here. If we go in the past, though, we'll never have to deal with this ever again. If we can get rid of, the party, basically. If we can get rid of the party, the ones who lead up to the discovery of Dynamaxy and all of that. So, like, maybe they're just, like, the forefathers of the good team that loses that initial fight. So, like, the good team is crushed and defeated by Team Galactic, but they're about to, come for that rebound. They suffer that defeat, and then the earth shakes, and all of a sudden these giant robots start pouring out from the sky. It goes black. You see these giant, typical, I'm envisioning Gundam style-esque, and they're throwing out these massive Pokemon at you. And you're like, what the heck is this? And you're running from your town, and you bump into like someone in a weird space uniform, and they turn to you, and you're like, are you blah 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 blah? And they're like, yeah. How did you know? You insert your players' names. Oh, I know your great 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 grandson or grandchild, and they instructed me to come here to find you to give you this, and that's when you get your like Dynamax band. Or your Mega Stone.
So it's basically Terminator, but in Pokemon. Giant size.
It's okay. Now we're talking in terms I can work with again. But yeah, the idea of that also adds a good amount of risk to the players. Not only are they now only concerned about their life, it's like if your character dies, the people who get sent back never get sent back. And so, but the other people are still going to come back to crush the rest of the resistance, no matter what. So you avoid that grandfather issue with time travel. Time travel's an obsession. And you just have it be that it's like, no, you have to do, if you do not succeed, you have to do more than the typical just survive, because then you also have to stop them at the end of their cycle. Because at the end of their cycle is going to be when they're fighting you now, but at the beginning of theirs is when they fight your offspring in the future. So you have to survive so that your offspring can fight them, and then beat them so that they're done for good. And also protect that elemental resource that you have, so that your characters can Dynamax in the future. So there's a lot of tasks you have now.
And so, because if we go with the whole, you are the character or character team that played through Diamond and Pearl or Platinum, maybe because there's 4 of us who would be potentially playing this, one person each would have like Dialga and, now I forgot the other one.
Palkia.
And someone would have Giratina too.
I played Pearl as a kid, so
So as you have these 3 legendaries, you could be like maybe in the middle of a battle using them, and they just kind of freeze because their connection through time has been kind of severed. And so your Pokemon that you caught throughout the events of the game kind of gets synced with the future version. And that's how they travel back to you through time, is by kind of locking onto your specific legendary Pokemon.
I like that for a tracking technique, yeah.
Because they've caught or imprisoned the 3 in the future.
I dig it.
And so part of like you being a really strong trainer is you have these ultimate legendary Pokemon that get taken away. So it's a little bit of a depowering, so you have to go back, and part of the journey is going to a PC and looking at your old Pokemon team and kind of pulling some people out.
Yeah, this is really pulling this is when you go back and you're like, oh, the generations that I didn't pick, and you're like, all the different my starters that I didn't choose that Oak offered me, I should have gone.
I like this. I'm kind of thinking this could be if you're using the Pokemon 5e rules, a mid to higher mid-range adventure or encounter, I should maybe say. I like this kind of as like an intro into 5e, Pokemon 5e. And I really much like your way of going back and checking your box. Like you maybe you are the team that lost, and you start off this campaign or one shot, whatever it is, in a crushing defeat from Team Galactic. So you have to go back into time to stop them from starting. But they also have control, so they go back in time, and you're kind of, butting heads again, maybe possibly, because I really like the idea of like, all right, you're going to look at all the Pokemon that you can choose from. This is how you're going to play it, right? This is how you can play it, I should say, not how you're going to. And now we're going to go back in time, and those Pokemon are back to like low levels. So you're
something that they
retraining them. Sorry. So you're retraining them, and then you get to use the giant Dynamaxing, or just in general Megastone, whatever it is that's causing the Pokemon to get huge to combat the giant robots that Team Galactic are using to pretty much enslave other Pokemon. So maybe they're going back to different regions and such, and their whole goal is to get all the legendaries to somehow awaken Arceus to go back even further and recreate their own world.
That sounds like the original goal of the guy, so I really like that.
Yeah, where Cyrus is the leader, but he can't always get the Pokemon, So maybe in the original future timeline, he can't get Articuno because Articuno hasn't been seen for 100 years. And it's rumored that some trainer has caught them already.
And you encounter Arceus in like Pokemon Platinum, don't you?
I think so.
So that could be like one of the only times that you encounter Arceus, and that's kind of known in the history books. And so that's part of another reason that they're coming to this time, is they can potentially enslave Arceus as well.
So Pokemon fans are going to love this one, because you get to play through all the different games of Pokemon. One of the things I was thinking, though, mechanically, because Sam, you were talking about, if you want to be the team who loses at the beginning, that's great for like a session 0, because they can get an idea of like what the mechanics and stuff are. And it's like, okay, are you good with that? Are you good with how everything works? Okay, now we're going to actually go back and show who your characters really are. Those were the descendants of your people. These are your people. They happen to be a lot like you. That classic thing of like, we got the same actor to play both the mother and the daughter. Like that kind of thing of like, you're really the same person, but not really.
Yeah. Like in Jumanji.
Do they do
the
that?
first one with, the dad is also the hunter in Robin Williams' Jumanji.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so maybe you go back to and you have like a younger Cynthia who's helping you, before she becomes the champion. You have like a 10-year-old Cynthia, and you're now working your way through Sinnoh to maybe you can get to Palkia first or Dialga first. and they're like, we already know where they are.
Guys, the person we have to send back from the future has to be Ash. We gotta have 50-year-old Ash show up and be like, I used to be the very best, like no one ever was. It's just
Perfect.
all the Ash.
Yes. You see, he sends out a Pikachu with like half a tail from all its battles. It's like lost half of its tail. And he's like, my one partner, Pikachu!
I choose you, Pikachu.
I'll train you up, and you'll cover for my downfalls.
That was so...
That's
man.
really good.
Yep. Oh, I love this. Now, you have Gritty Ash Ketchum, who's come back in time because he lost to Cyrus.
That's really good. Because basically,
He's not 10.
at the end of the game, Cyrus stays in the distortion world. So there could be a connection as well there that he goes to the future, or that's kind of the bridge.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you get to bring in every NPC ever. I was also partial into doing a post-apocalyptic Nurse Joy, who would be like Nurse Angry or something. Just to be, but
We changed her name after the Calamity. After Cyrus took over, there was no longer joy in the world.
But future Ash Ketchum was too good to pass up on. That's finally getting to see Ash be a different age would be amazing.
Or he's still 10, just really gritty.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always 10.
Yep, I really like that.
Oh man, okay.
Oh, okay. So the high members of Team Galactic are Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Chiron. So we could, and then Cyrus is Persian for the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either keep their names or just go with more space names.
So Brain decided anime connection because of Pokemon and went, what if they did like a Sailor Moon thing and became the giant robots? So you're actually fighting them.
If it's like future Cyrus who has either allied with the robots, he's probably become like robot himself.
No, that's what I'm saying. He becomes a giant robot. It is like a power-up thing that he does. It's like Power Rangers, but instead of becoming inside of it, he just becomes the robot.
And so Cyrus, who is now a robot, goes to like the defeated generals that he used to have and brings them back to be robots. So they're like necro robots.
Yes, as like giant Gundam robots.
And this is like the darkest Pokemon game ever, and I want to play it so freaking bad. I'm sorry that I keep pulling only from the Pokemon show, but that is my core experience with Pokemon. But what would be interesting, again, my favorite part of an apocalypse is seeing people you don't think would work together. So having like the old Team Rocket be like, whoa, we're not about that. They're coming in and like murdering people. We're not here for that.
You could have either future Jesse and James come back too, or you could just have like
Mecha Meowth.
Mecha Meow.
Yeah, maybe they join the Team Galactic.
No, like a Meowth who's like half cybernetic also comes back with Ash.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that's it. There you go.
I lost my owners. Now you're gonna pay. The future.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Jesse and James have been killed, and Meowth wants revenge.
Oh, we can go darker. We can take out Pikachu, so it's Ash with Meowth as the two new teams.
Ash is there to convince the people. Meowth is there to convince the Pokemon.
Yes. And Pikachu's gone.
Ash has like a tail necklace.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Oh my god. A lucky rabbit's foot.
Oh, and it still has some kind of... it's a sword. It's like built into the hilt, and it like gives his sword an electric charge.
His tail's the sword. Oh my god. Yo. That's wild to imagine.
But yeah, we get to deal with a lot of legendaries too, so we get to throw in a bunch of them. So we kind of did get our Javelin Showdown, because it's just capturing a bunch of legendaries. that basically have magical abilities. So,
oh, and to add, so because Ash comes back and gives your team kind of these bands that let you Dynamax.
Maybe later. I would very much love a game of Digimon. Please, anybody, remember Digimon and put things out there for it. What happened, everybody? We used to have something. Sorry, go on. Pokemon, yeah.
So people are going to see that you have the capability to fight, and they're going to want that. So you're going to have people who are kind of trying to contest against you with your bands, and they're going to be trying to fight you. And so if you Dynamax your Pokemon, they'll easily just wipe out anybody. But maybe there's a cooldown on the band, and
it's like 3 turns.
It can be, we can have it slightly different, because the way I'm seeing it is if you Dynamax, it's not going to change your stats. It's just going to make you on an equal playing field with the giant robots. Otherwise, there's just no stat comparison for the extra large size and the small size. So you could choose to use it and just wipe out anyone who opposes you, but if a robot shows up, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. I'm really liking this one.
And then you could have, like, small-scale Pokemon battles with maybe Team Rocket does show up and they're trying to fight you to try and take it so that they can be the ones who properly get the credit for saving the world.
I also like the idea of just, like, random people being like, I'm gonna fight you like a normal Pokemon, and it's like, dude, there is like an apocalypse on the way, and they don't know about it, and they're like, yeah, that's a good excuse, mister. Nice try. Yeah.
You have to walk along like one of...
Youngster Joey is a mecha. He comes in. You do the typical, as you're walking down the street, there's a bunch of people staring off into space. And you walk by one, and this little kid with shorts locks eyes on you, and he's like, hey, we're gonna battle. And of course you hear the music going, and as you look closer and you come up, you see that this little boy starts to grow in size. And now he's like a 100-foot robot standing above you. And he releases a capsule, and this giant robot Rattata comes out, and he's like, we're gonna battle!
This is horrifying, but I love it.
So, kind of exploring earlier spaces after you've beat the game is always funny if you find, like, people you didn't battle. And just like you said, with Joey throwing out a Rattata, just imagine you're like the Sinnoh champion walking along the street, and he challenges you and throws out a level 2 Rattata. You're like, I'm trying to save the world. Like, no, if you've locked eyes with a trainer, you have to battle.
If you're trying to save the world, then you know the code of a trainer. Otherwise, you're unworthy. Now get ready.
Go, Metapod. Use Harden.
It's Harden.
Charizard, flamethrower. You killed my Metapod.
Also, I would like to throw out the idea. We've talked about Gritty Ash from the future. Professor Ash. Just saying, he finally got there.
Yeah, but then what's like, maybe his middle name is some sort of tree or something.
Ash is a type of tree, isn't it?
Oh, Ash is a tree. I forgot why. Yeah. See, yeah. That would work really well then.
Yeah.
Professor Ash.
That's really good.
You can still be 10 or you can be 50 years old. However you want to do it. I think both are hilarious. Just Ash from the future.
If we're going to go real gritty, I think a great way to do that scene is exactly how we talked about the, youngster Joey popping up. I send out my level 2 Rattata, and Ash just takes his Pikachu sword tail and slices it in half. He's like, we don't have time for this. No! We're trying to save the world.
It had perfect IVs.
I've read so many of them.
This is beautiful. I love this.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we've nailed it.
Anything else? Any more encounters do we want to set up? Anything like that?
What's the final boss gonna be like? Because we have the point, so we have all the stuff they're gonna do. They're gonna go back in time, or they're gonna come back to our time. We're gonna fight them. Basically a normal Pokemon game of person to person with some apocalyptic scenarios in between for good measure. Mm-hmm. And then we're gonna eventually face off against the big bad himself. Cyrus?
Yeah, Cyrus.
Okay, Cyrus. And
his mech has to have like containment chambers for the legendary Pokemon.
Yeah.
So the farther that the enemy team has gotten, the more like special abilities he has based on the Pokemon that he's got contained in him.
All I can picture is just like a giant tube with Mew and Mewtwo next to each other. And he's like, yeah, I have them all. I have all of these other ones, but I picture those two very specifically.
Gotta catch them all.
I can't remember. There was like one of the Pokemon movies where there was a collector who was trying to collect all the Pokemon, and I really liked how they showed the balls to collect like Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. It was like these 3 metal rings floating around them, and they created like a sphere so they couldn't escape from them. So maybe something like that, like those, but they shrink like normal Pokeballs, and it goes into this massive mecha, Gundam-esque looking Cyrus. And once he gets them all, that's when he's able to either call forth Arceus to capture it, or possibly even that's when Arceus comes to help battle, but depending on how strong he is already.
How rare are Master Balls?
Usually you get 1 per game. Sometimes 2, unless you cheat.
And Master Balls are allowed to capture any Pokemon?
Yeah, anything that's not already previously caught.
What if he's just going back in time and catching all the legendaries first? So he's just showing up places.
Yeah, I think
like,
that's...
This is mine now. Master Ball. So you meet him at the end, and it's like a normal gym battle, but he's just got a wall of Master Balls, and he's like, which one will it be? And it's just...
No, that could be very much it, is he's capturing them all and siphoning off their power to run his mecha army.
I love this.
Siphoning off their energy is what's providing for it, and then that exposes your players to the vast species of Pokemon, all 8 gens.
That's really good.
Somebody play this. Somebody play this with us, or somebody just play this. Someone put this out in a media format for me to watch.
I'm gonna run this one.
Okay. I'm on. I'm in. Yes. This is gonna be good.
I'm excited.
Very. Okay, yeah. So I think, are we ready to move towards synopsis and recap?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see who's on those.
Malcolm, you are recap. I am synops, and David is going to be outro.
Coolio. In a world. So... In this world of Pokemon Joy and Wonder that we exist in, what seemingly has happened is, in the future, your descendants have lost a great battle against the very powerful Cyrus, who is now going to use legendary Pokemon to go back in time to capture more legendary Pokemon until he has all legendary Pokemon, causing for him to, be able to reboot the universe in his image. So to stop that, your players are tasked with teaming up with future Professor Ash Ketchum, and maybe some old enemies, new allies, ? Working together to figure out how to defeat this person who has come back to your time with his army of giant robots. You're using, and what are they called again, David? I forget what that power-up is called.
Dynamax.
You're using Dynamax, a limited resource, to help boost your Pokemon up to size to be able to fight these robots. And, you have a limited amount. There might be some kids here and there who want to battle you still. You don't know. It's all kind of crazy. Pokemon gone wild. This place is nuts. Welcome to the apocalypse. Good luck surviving.
All right, it's my turn. I'm going to do little tweaks with this one, because I just kind of came up with a good idea. But yeah, you're starting off your adventure. You're 10 years old. You and your friends are meeting the professor. This professor is a new professor in town. He's a little more gritty. He always is wearing this weird hat that you guys have never really seen before. You come in and, all happy and joyful, and he looks at you. I've seen things, and you are the best trainers that are in this town, and I need your help. I will help you become the best trainers, because when I lost everything. And he gives you he gives you Pokeballs, for your starters. And he wraps this band around your wrist. This will help you make your Pokemon giant. For where we're going, we need to fight giant robots. And he pulls out this lightning. It almost looks like a zigzag blade, and as you look closer, it doesn't look like it is. It's a tail of a Pikachu that's been hardened with steel, and its electricity still bounces off of it. He looks at you again. It's time to catch them all and be the best that there is. And he slices open a dimensional rift in time, dragging you and your friends into this vortex, and you wake up in the past in a sunny town of... I just lost it.
Twinleaf?
Yeah, Twinleaf. You wake up in the shiny, sunny town of Twinleaf Town, and that's where your adventure begins.
Very nice.
I like it.
I like that, especially if you're going to do this as like a campaign. That is a really awesome starting point, because you might not know when the robots are going to show up, and so you have to just train your way forward.
Ash knows.
Yeah, Ash doesn't. He just knows he has to go back because he lost. And he knows around this time, you as a DM, you'll find this out. You'll think of like exactly when, but you just know that you're sending them back in time, and they have to start training their Pokemon. And that's the beauty, is like Ash can give them pretty much any starter. So if your players are like, I don't want just one of the original starters, I want a Mankey. There you go. Now you can have a Dynamaxing Mankey.
This is going to be really cool.
Ooh. I just came up with another idea. I like it being stronger than Dynamaxing, and to add more risk to it, and to pull from your box more. Because I like that idea too. Let's call it Mega Dynaing. It allows your Pokemon to get strong enough, but at the end of the battle, your Pokemon is either like KO'd or they're sent to the Distortion World. So you have to go and pull out another Pokemon to join your party.
Are you saying it's sent to the Shadow Realm, David? That's not the right anime.
So that could be the resource that kind of governs the usage of Mega Dynaing. It actually is going to remove a Pokemon from your party permanently.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I think that's great.
I am excited to run it. I have some ideas, some stuff I need to write down. But yes, on to the goodbyes. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. Our theme music is Today by Linby off of their album Drive. If you like it, you can hear more from them at linby.bandcamp.com or on their actual play podcast, Bombarded. You can find the show on Twitter at FITGDND, that's FitGDND, where we also have a link to our Discord server. We're always looking for new themes and scenarios to add to our lists there, and we'd just love to have you on to chat. I have been David, your theme host. You can find me on Twitter at Daedra18, that is DAEDRA18.
And I am Diamambo over here. I was your themes and synopsis host today. You can find me on Twitter at DMMambo5, or I also run a actual play podcast called Bardic Inspiration Podcast, and you can find me over on Instagram and Twitter at bip.dnd. And we have a website. You can find all that up on Twitter as well.
And sandwiching this all together, I'm Malcolm. You can follow me at The Ruler of Rhyme, but honestly, just probably don't. Follow at FitGDND instead.
Our show is edited by the lovely Audio Gremlin, Andrew Brown. You can follow them at xnubinator912x on Twitter. As Sam was saying, we are an Obtuse Audio Studios podcast. If you want to learn more about the studio or some of the other podcasts on our network, you can find us at obtuseaudio.com. If you liked the show, give us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps to kind of get us out on the waves more. See. And again, thanks for listening.
Leaves it behind. It's too much today. It's too much today. Colorful living is not quite like me. Plainly, I find there is too much to see. It's too much today. It's too much today.
Obtuse Audio.